was pretty broke on RuneScape after giving away all my GP, but I've managed to build up a nice cash stack, all thanks to unusual money-making methods in the game. Methods that very few people do, yet still turn out to be some of the best moneymakers in the game, as seen on the unusual money-making leaderboard. The unusual methods I have for you today are some of the strangest yet best I've seen, and we're starting off with one that absolutely nobody does. And I get why. I hated doing it, but for the amount of money that it made me, it was totally worth it. It's a method that requires your account to be on a certain step of a quest. It's the only time you can do it. Anyone who hasn't started the quest, or anyone that's finished the quest, is locked out of this, and that's what makes this unusual. To start this method off, I'm hopping on my low-level account and starting the quest Merlin's Crystal. During this quest, you need to go to the candle maker in Catherby and ask if he can make you a black candle. Now, I've known about black candles for a long time. You probably did too, but did you know that the only time you can get a black candle is during the Merlin's Crystal quest? It's true, they aren't tradable and they cannot be purchased from the candle maker after you finish the quest. The only way to get them is to trade the candle maker a bucket of wax at this specific point during the quest. Now, black candles aren't tradable and can't be sold on the Grand Exchange, so what's even the point of going through all this hassle trying to get them? Well, fun fact, you can put a black candle into an empty candle lantern, which will give you a black candle lantern. A black candle lantern can be sold on the Grand Exchange, and you might be shocked to find out just how much they go for. The first thing I needed to do was get a ton of buckets of wax. The only way to get the candle maker to give you a black candle is to give him a bucket of wax. Luckily, not too far from him are the Sears Village beehives, which with an empty bucket in your inventory and some insect repellent will give you a bucket of wax. So for the next hour, I decided to get as many buckets of wax as I could. This wasn't exactly a fun process. It's a bunch of clicking back and forth between your inventory and the beehives. If you mess up the order of clicks, you get stung. You have to run back and forth between the Catherby Bank. It's pretty tedious. Luckily, empty buckets are cheap and easy to buy. There's even the farming shop in Catherby that sells empty bucket packs, and the insect repellent is free, so not many requirements for this part. After 1 hour, I had collected 856 buckets of wax, which on its own is a pretty good unusual moneymaker. I could sell them all for just under 800,000 GP, which is one of the better methods we've tested. So I guess this is technically two unusual money-making methods in one. What a treat. Next up, we have to do the unbelievably painstaking process of swapping all of these buckets of wax in for black candles. There's no swap all button. I can't just use the wax on him and it turns right into a candle. Every single time I need to talk to him, ask him about making a black candle, wait until our conversation finishes, then talk to him again saying I have the bucket of wax, go through a couple more dialogue options, and only then do I finally get a black candle. Now, I only have to do that 855 more times. But honestly, that's nothing to me, especially when I saw the amount of money I was going to be making. But before we get to the results, we need to talk about something first. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and I know some of you are still looking for that perfect gift. Well, look no further than Manscaped's latest release, the Chairman Pro Package. This all-in-one set includes everything you need for a perfect shave every time. This is the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. It features a 360-degree contouring head and comes with two interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. Use the 4-blade foil for a super close shave or the stubble trimmer for keeping a bit of a rugged look. Both heads reduce razor burn and irritation, so you're always feeling smooth and comfortable. The Flex Adjust technology helps the blades and pivoting head flex and adjust to the contours of your face and neck, leading to a super smooth shave. For even more precision, there's a precision lock feature. When you lock it, the blade head sits firm. Don't forget that it's waterproof too. The package also includes the Power Shave Gel to get the ultimate wet shave experience. It's packed with skin-soothing ingredients that defend against redness and irritation, and it's dermatologist tested for sensitive skin. To finish off, we have the Face Shave Soother. Use it after shaving to hydrate your skin and soothe any post-shave irritation. It's designed to help reduce redness and defend against ingrown hairs and razor bumps. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, or just want to upgrade your grooming routine, the Chairman Pro Package is the way to go. It has everything you need to keep your face looking and feeling its best, all in one box. Use promo code SOUPRS for 20% off your order, plus free international shipping. What better way to treat yourself or someone special this holiday season? That's 20% off, plus free international shipping with promo code SOUPRS at manscaped.com. Turning all the buckets of wax into black candles took 2 hours and 50 minutes, putting the total amount of time spent so far on this method at a little less than 4 hours. But we're not done yet. We now have to make the black candle lanterns. To do that, we first need to get our hands on some empty candle lanterns, which thankfully are super cheap on the Grand Exchange. Only 10 GP per one and are sold very often, so buying them isn't going to be an issue. Once we have those, the final step in the process is to put all the candles inside the empty candle lanterns. This can be done fairly quickly, especially since you can just spam between the candle candles and lanterns, and they're made almost instantly. This process only took around 10 minutes. So after 4 hours of work, we had our 857 black candle lanterns. I found out earlier that I had an extra bucket of wax in my inventory, so I went from 856 to 857. Okay, it was now time for the moment of truth. Was all of this worth it? Check this out. A black candle lantern sells for 200 million GP. Okay, I'm just kidding, but I know at least one of you watching this just cursed out loud. Each candle lantern goes for 12,500 GP, 12k per lantern, which means that if we sell all of them, we'd be making 10.7 million GP. Why do they go for so much? Well, you kind of just saw why. The process of getting them is incredibly tedious, and there's only one way and place to get them. Nobody's going to stop in the middle of doing Merlin's crystal just to do this forever. Most people just finish the quest and never think about it again. But who's buying these? That's something I'm not 100% sure of, but I think it's safe to say that this is a collector's dream item. Items that are super rare and hard to obtain are exactly what RuneScape item collectors love, and this item fits that profile. If you type in candle lantern on the Grand Exchange, you can actually see the two versions of it, the white candle lantern on the left and the black one on the right. So due to low supply and what seems to be like a decent demand, the lanterns sit comfortably at around 12k. If I really wanted to, they can sometimes sell for up to 50k, but in this case, I just wanted to get my money, and I finally did after around 2 days of selling the item. Just like that, from 15k to 10.7 mil. This method is actually kind of insane if you think about it. A brand new player can start Merlin's crystal the same day they make an account, do this method, and have a green cash stack to work with in just a day or two. Don't get me wrong, the method isn't exactly fun, but it has very few requirements and isn't that hard. To make this amount of GP from that's pretty cool. Also, I wonder if when testing this method, I had the most black candles banked in the entire game. I mean, who would have more than me? On the island of Alderin lies one of the most unusual things in the entire game. If you're just now discovering that this is a place on RuneScape, don't worry. It was only added to the game a couple of months ago. This unusual thing is called a mysterious nest, and it can be found at the top of the Alderin windmill. This nest is super weird because you can give items to it, hop worlds or relog, and then a new item will be there for you to grab. I'm serious, check this out. If I give it a raw chicken, hop worlds, then search the nest, I get a cooked chicken. If I offer it some rune plate legs, I get a runite bar. An adamant scimitar returns a cake. So far, 10 items have been discovered that you can trade to the nest to receive a new item. The craziest one being dragon claws, which you can exchange for an egg. Yeah, I'm not showing that one, sorry. All the trades lose you money, unfortunately, except for one. The mithril limbs to mithril crossbow offering. Mithril limbs cost 465 GP, mithril crossbows go for around 1000 GP. So offer the nest some mithril limbs, hop worlds, search the nest, and secure your beautiful mithril crossbow. Every time you do this, you're making a whopping 550 GP. So if you have any interest in trying this, I just filled up my inventory with mithril limbs, used the fairy ring code CKQ to get to Alderin, and ran to the windmill. When finished, I used the fairy ring in my house again to get to Alderin, used the bank that's here, deposited everything, ran south again to the windmill, and repeated the entire process. After 1 hour, I had traded 308 mithril limbs for mithril crossbows. 308 mithril limbs cost me 143k, and I sold the 308 mithril crossbows for 303k, which means we made a whopping 160k. Now this of course isn't a great moneymaker, even though actually it doesn't rank as one of the worst we've tested, but what this is very unusual, which is exactly what this series is all about. I'm kind of wondering if I'm the person who's made the most mithril limb trades to the nest in this game. First the black candles, now this nest. I feel like I'm setting all kinds of records here. Crazy goal here, but can we hit 400,000 subscribers before the year ends? I think we can. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. It wouldn't be an unusual money-making video without discovering a hop and shop method that makes you some of the best money in the game. Hop and shop methods involve finding a shop in the game that you continuously buy items from while world hopping. We've covered dozens of them in this series, and they're usually really solid profit. Today's hop and shop method focuses on Papyrus, an item that can be found in 10 different shops around the game, but we're going to focus on one in particular, the Prifddinas General Store. Notice anything special about this store? It's right next to a bank, legit right next to it. You know what that means? A fast and easy way to bank after buying out Papyrus. It may not have the fastest restock time, it might not be the cheapest, but the fact that the store is so close to a bank means that the amount of Papyrus we'll be getting will render all of those other factors useless. Alright, so here's the method, super simple. With some GP in your inventory, change your left click to buy 50 on the Papyrus in the general store, buy as many as you can, run to the bank and deposit them all, run back and buy out the rest of the Papyrus. items. Now, you'll still have some extra inventory spaces open, so you can buy out some other items from the shop that make you profit if you sell them to the GE. In my case, I bought cake tins and chisels. Now bank all the items, hop worlds, and repeat this entire process. Pretty click intensive, but for the amount of money we'll be making, it's worth it. One Papyrus buys for 13 GP, and we can sell it on the Grand Exchange for around 415, which means that per inventory, we're making about 10,500 GP. With how fast we're buying and banking, that number is going to grow quickly. After 1 hour, I had bought 5,298 Papyrus, 210 cake tins, and 200 chisels. It took a day and a half for all the Papyrus to sell, and I received 2.17 million GP. The cake tins and chisels added on an extra 50k to make it 2.2 million. It only cost us 109k initially to buy all these items, so we're looking at a final profit of 2.1 million GP buying and selling Papyrus from the Prifddinas general store. That, my friends, slots cozily in the top 10 unusual money-making methods of all time. Ever since I started playing Runescape, and ever since I made this YouTube channel, I've always wanted to get a piece of Third Age from a clue scroll. Back in the day, I had multiple clue scroll series going on, and I always told myself that getting Third Age would fulfill my prophecy. Well, to this day, it still hasn't happened. So when I learned of an unusual moneymaker that involved clue scrolls, it really piqued my interest. This method involves cremating Urium shades for gold keys that open chests in the Shades of Morden. This is currently one of the best and most profitable ways to obtain elite clue scrolls. If you're hunting elites, the most efficient way to get them is to open dragon impling jars, but you lose an ungodly amount of money each time since one opening costs 500k. That's where Urium shades come in. Not only will you receive on average 2 elite clues per hour doing this, but you'll actually profit heavily just from opening the gold chests with the gold keys you get from cremating the Urium shades. This method does have kind of high requirements. You need 95 fire making in order to cremate the Urium remains. That is a high level, but fire making isn't the worst skill to level up, especially with Wintertod. Mauritania Lakes 3 are also a must. The teleport into Bergdorf will be your main way of getting to the funeral pyres. You can also use Morton teleport scrolls, but they are very expensive and will cut into your profits. While not necessary, I'd really recommend bringing along a gold coffin, which can store up to 28 shade remains of any type. To get one, buy some gold locks for around 19k on the Grand Exchange, then talk to Dampy, who can be found by the entrance of the Shade Catacombs. Talk to him to get a broken coffin, then talk to him again to combine your gold locks with the broken coffin to get a gold coffin. In order to cremate the Urium remains, you need to use redwood pyre logs. While they are expensive, you'll be making your money back, so just look at it as an investment. Okay, so with the Urium remains, redwood pyre logs, and a tinderbox with you, it's now time to cremate. There's a couple ways you can do this. The slow method is to just cremate them like usual without any type of manipulation. Just use the redwood log on the pyre, then the remains, light them up, and you have yourself 500 fire making and 120 prayer XP. If you have the elite Mauritania diary done, you get 750 fire making XP and 180 prayer XP. I'm getting almost 1000 XP drops, which is super satisfying. After a successful cremation, you'll get one of these 5 gold keys, or 2,000 to 7,000 GP. This way of doing the method is fine, but there is a faster way to do this that involves some tick manipulation. I know what you're saying, soup, tick manipulation, really? I know, I usually hate it, but I honestly found myself really enjoying doing it this way. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it genuinely speeds up the process by quite a bit, which means more profit per hour. It's called the 7-tick looting cycle, and it involves looting the keys while cremating the remains. Usually you spend a lot of time looting all the keys after burning all the remains, or you lose time looting the keys while burning the remains, but with this method, you're collecting the keys while you burn the remains. It takes a bit of time to get used to, but once you have the rhythm down, it goes by super quickly. Using a piece of Celastris bark, you can place the logs and remains quicker than usual on the pyre. As you can see here, the entire process goes by a lot faster when I do it this way. I was able to cremate around 500 Urium shades per hour, but if you do it super efficiently, it can get up to 600. I learned about this method from this video from QHP, so shout out to him for a fantastic explanation on how this method works. Okay, so 500 Urium shades cost me 2.75 million GP, and 500 redwood pyre logs cost me 1.84 million GP. So in total, I'm investing 4.59 million GP into this method. It took 1 hour to cremate all the remains, which left me with 414 gold keys. Now comes the fun part. With 26 keys in my inventory, I can head into the Shade Catacombs, run through the gold door, and into this room with all the gold chests. Now I can just is open the chests that match the color of the keys I have and start racking up the loot. You can expect some pretty cool rewards like gold locks, amulets of the damned, pieces of zealot robes, rune and dragon items, and most importantly, elite clue scrolls. Right off the bat, I could tell that this method was going to be profitable, even without doing the elite clues. Remember that one cremation costs 9,180 GP, and we're getting things like dragon longswords and rune plate bodies and plate legs. Not all the time, but enough where we can safely expect profit from this. But again, the whole point of this method was to show that there is a viable way to get elite clue scrolls while profiting. Whether you want to do the elites or just turn them into Watson for master scrolls, that's up to you. In my case, I just wanted to do the elites. It took 2 hours to use all the keys, and I ended up with 5 elite clue scrolls and all of this loot. I did actually manage to finish the zealot robes, which I thought was pretty cool. There's quite a few collection log slots you can lock here, so that's a nice plus. After selling all the loot from the chests, we ended up with 4.7 million GP. The amount of GP I earned from burning the remains was 496k, which puts our cash stack at 5.26 million GP. The elite clue scrolls started off hot. We got sagacious spectacles and ranger gloves from our very first one for a cool 1.7 million GP. The next one was a shocking 86k. Clue scrolls in a nutshell. The 5 elite clues made us in total 2.17 million GP. So after all was said and done, our final cash stack after doing this method for 3 hours is 7.6 million GP. We invested 4.59 million, so that puts us at almost exactly 3 million GP. So about 1 million GP an hour on average. If we take away the luck of that first elite clue, it's more like 670k. While this isn't the biggest GP per hour method we've seen on this channel, I still find it to be pretty damn good. You get great fire making and prayer XP, and you're getting on average around 2 elite clues per hour without the need to lose money on dragon implings or having to kill a boss. It's a great alternative. This entire method though is just genuinely super unusual and one that very few people do, but is genuinely very viable. I'd highly recommend it if you need to go on an elite clue grind. You might just find yourself enjoying it as much as I did. One of my absolute favorite things is when I learn about or discover something that I had no idea existed yet has been in the game for decades. Well, that's exactly what happened with Guthix balances and Vampyre juvanates. Vampyre juvanates are found in multiple places throughout Mauritania. In order to do damage to them, you need to use a weapon like an Evandis or Blisterwood flail. Now, I've always known that they've existed and that you need a special weapon to kill them, but I didn't know that if you successfully use a Guthix balance potion on them, there's a chance for them to turn back into their human form and give you a special reward from a unique drop table. Whether this drop table is good or not in terms of money making is yet to be seen. First things first, we need to get our hands on some Guthix balances. These things are very rarely traded on the Grand Exchange, mainly because, well, they're useless outside of this method. I tried buying every type of dose of the potion and I only ended up with about 20 full potions. Now, you can make them on your own. It's actually a bit of a weird process. You combine a restore potion with garlic and then use the unfinished potion you get with some silver dust. This gets you a Guthix balance potion. I'll be using the area east of Berg de Rot where there's plenty of Vampyre juvanates walking around. There's also plenty of Vampyre juveniles walking around and this method does not work with them, so make sure you're not attacking those. Okay, so all you do now is attack a Vampyre juvenate, and when it gets below half HP, use the special attack from your flail, which costs 10% of your spec bar, and it should freeze the juvenate in midair. It'll look like he's having an exorcism of sorts. This is when you use the Guthix balance potion on him, and just like that, he's dead. 3 things can now happen. The first is that a feral vampire spawns, and you either have to kill him or just run away. There's also a chance that the juvenate just disintegrates and you get 100 prayer XP. The most common outcome is you use the potion successfully and it returns the vampire back into human form. If this happens, Benjamin, Liam, Miala, or Varric will thank you for what you've done and reward you with a noted weapon, armor, nature or death runes, willow or yew logs, or a ruby ring or amulet of magic. There's also a small chance to get a medium clue scroll. There is quite the variety of types of weapons and armor you can get. Unfortunately, most of it is either mithril, steel, black. There's a rare chance to get some adamant, but honestly, the table isn't anything to write home about. I noticed on the OSRS wiki that there aren't any drop rates available for this, and I'm wondering if it's because they just don't have enough data. I may honestly be the only person in the game that's done this recently. I just find this entire interaction funny. This is content that absolutely nobody does, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure if people have ever done. I didn't play the game when this piece of content was released back in 2006, so maybe players were doing it back then. For any of you who played during that era, maybe you could educate me in the comment section. I do find it really funny that after you heal a vampire, they say thank you and tell you that they have to go, but if you follow them, they usually just walk west towards Berg de Rot, get stuck behind something, and then just kind of stand there. There can be multiple of the same human you saved in the exact same area. This method truly truly feels old school. It kind of reminds me of the red barrels you can open for loot in the Legends Guild cave. It's just a super old school method. After 1 hour, I ended up with this loot, about 82k worth of items. I spent around 12k on the Guthix balances, so we're looking at a profit total of 70k. You know, back in 2006, that probably wouldn't have been too bad. Would I recommend doing this? No. But we did make profit, and we did discover a super weird and unusual method of making some money, which I can always appreciate. If you have any unusual moneymakers you'd like me to try out, feel free to send them to me in the brand new Unusual Moneymakers channel in my Discord. Just click on this channel, create a new ticket, and submit your moneymaker. I'm excited to see what you guys send my way. Maybe you'll end up on the Unusual Moneymaking leaderboard. If you're itching for more soup content, I've got a Gillenor Games episode review coming out on my second channel, Super, tomorrow. So you can look forward to that. Links, as usual, for everything are in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.